Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In today's video we will learn about AWS IAM service. So AWS IAM service actually is a service where we will create users according to their permission. Whenever we create AWS account, so we will get root user, and that user will have unrestricted access, and that user can perform any task. So we will not perform all the tasks from that user. It is not a good practice. For our daily operations we will create user and we will assign them permission, so those user can perform that task. Here also it is mentioned that identity and access management is a web service that helps you securely control access to AWS resources, and with IAM service you can centrally manage permission that control which AWS resource use have that permission. Accordingly that user can perform the task. So when you use IAM to control who is authenticated and who is authorized to use that resources, the resources means EC2 resource and S3 resources, so we can control it, so who will get access to this. So we have some features to it. So these features are as follows. So shared access to your AWS account. So in that we will have separate password for all the users which we have created. So we do not need to share the password for the other user. So every user will have their password and username. Accordingly they will log into server, and we can give granular access to the servers according to the permission which we have given. According that user can access to the server. In that actually we will give let's suppose if a user want EC2 access, so that user doesn't want full permission, so in that case we will only give read only permission to that user. And secure access to AWS resources for application that run on EC2. So in that we will create instances, and in that instances if we will allow S3 bucket should be allowed from that particular instances, so that permission also we can give. Here we can use MFA as well, multi-factor authentication. So we can use two-factor authentication. So when we are giving permission to user can uh, access the respective account from their uh, password, and after that they need to provide that authentication password which they will get on their mobile. So for that they need to configure Google Authenticator, and they will get the password in their one time password in their phone, and they need to insert that, and it is free to use. So it is actually free to use the users which we create, and those user whatever the action they will perform, that will be charged. So we will do practical demo here now. For that we will go to AWS console and we will search IAM. Here we will create a user first, and that user we will not give any permission. So we will go here to user section. That user is already created. I will delete that user. So for creating user, first of all we need to go to EC2, and after that users, and we need to click add users. We need to give user name, we are giving test. So here we will give console access to that user, and after that we will select auto generated, but it depends upon your environment. You will give auto generated or custom password, and after that we can select this, that user must create a new password. So if we want that we can tick that, otherwise we will untick it. So as of now we are not clicking here, so we do not need to reset our password. Here we can create a group, and from that group we can assign permission, and then we can add to that group that respective user, and we can copy permission from already created group users. And now as of now we have not created any group, and user is also not created. So now we will create a policy. Policy is nothing that policy actually is a collection of different permission. So here first of all we will not give any permission. So I will show you what that user will see if that user will not have any permission. So now I will click here next button and then create user. That user is created. So we have got that console URL. Then here that URL we will copy to the different browser, and that user name and password. That username is test and password I have already copied. And now as you already know that I haven't provided any policy to that user, so I will see that user is able to access EC2 service or not. Here if you see that user is getting API error because user is not having permission for EC2 service. Now I will go again to that user and click here to that particular user and go to add permission and add permission. Here we can attach permission which are already created. We will select here EC2 full access. So it depends upon request. There are multiple permissions are there: EC2 full access, EC2 read only permission. So we can give that permission as of now, but in your environment you should be checking before that if you are uh, allowed to give EC2 full access to that particular user. Otherwise you can give EC2 read only access, and then we can click here on next and then add permission. Now we can see permission is there. Now we will go to that respective user. Here still it is showing API error. We will refresh that page. After refreshing that page we can see that error is not coming and user now is able to create any server. So here we will give one more policy to that user. Before that we will go to S3 service because we will give S3 access to that user. In S3 we will create one bucket. Now one bucket is already created, so we will go to that respective user from that AWS console and we will check S3. So as of now we haven't given S3 permission to that user. Now user is not able to view buckets which are created. So now we will give S3 permission to that particular user. So how we will give now? Now we will create a group. You have already seen how to give permission to user from user level. So now we will create a group called, actually it is the method in environment, real-time environment which companies are following. So first of all we need to, let's suppose these are application users. So first of all we will create that application users, and after that in that group we need to add the permission. So here we are adding S3. We are adding S3 full access permission here in that group. There should not be gap between that. That's why we got that error, and that group is created. Now if we will see that user is having only EC2 full access. So now we will go to this user group and then we will go here, edit, on sorry no, on add users. We will add user to that particular group. This test user we will add. User added to the to that group. Now if we will see that user permission, so we can see S3 full access is granted to that user. Now we will check if S3 full user is able to access. We will refresh. After refreshing, we can see that user is now able to access bucket. That's all from this video. In this video we have learned how to create user first, and after that how to assign permission to that user, policy, how to attach policy, and after that how to create group and how to add policy to that group and how to add users to that group. Thank you. Thanks all for watching, and please do like, share and subscribe my channel.